America's satellite just discovered India's terrifying secret. And let me tell you something, when I say terrifying, I don't mean frightening in the way you think of fear. I mean terrifying in the way that it shakes up the balance of power, in the way it makes the biggest nations in the world sit up straight, put down their coffee, and say, hold up, what just happened? Because when India makes a move, it doesn't make small moves. It doesn't whisper, it roars. See, most people in the West been thinking they got India all figured out. A country with ancient temples, spicy food, Bollywood, yoga, IT, support, and cheap labor. That's the picture they've been painting for decades. But let me tell you, what America's satellites just picked up from the skies proves the whole world been sleeping on India. And now the wake-up call ain't coming with a gentle ringtone. It's coming like an earthquake, like thunder ripping through the silence. Think about this for a second. Satellites, the eyes in the sky, the same ones that can zoom in on a license plate from space, the same ones that can track missile launches across oceans. Those satellites locked in on India. And what they saw, not weakness, not poverty, not what they thought India was. They saw power. They saw precision. They saw a nation that has been quietly, patiently, and relentlessly building something the rest of the world didn't even see coming. Because here's the thing, India don't brag. India don't go around announcing every move like some countries do. India builds in silence. India invests in brains, not just bombs. India takes its time, but when the curtain lifts, what's revealed makes the world gasp. And now, satellites circling the Earth just confirmed that India has been holding cards so strong that even the so-called superpowers are shook. Let's talk about what that secret really is. It's not just about a weapon, not just about a rocket, not just about some underground facility hidden in the desert or jungle. India's terrifying secret is much bigger than one invention. The secret is this: India has unlocked a formula the West didn't think was possible. A formula of youth, technology, resilience, and vision all fused together into a force that no satellite, no intelligence agency, no prediction model could fully measure until it was too late. You know what makes it terrifying? It's not that India is building strength. It's that India is building independence. And let me tell you, nothing scares the old powers more than a nation that refuses to be controlled, refuses to beg, refuses to borrow, refuses to bend. The satellite didn't just see metal, fire, or launch pads. It saw the rise of a mindset. It saw 1 billion people no longer playing defense, but stepping into offense. Look at what India's been doing. Space programs, right? Folks laughed when India first said they'd go to space. Too poor, too chaotic, too ambitious, they said. But then India did it. Chandrayaan landed on the moon, on the South Pole where nobody else could touch down. Mars mission done in one attempt, while America and Russia spent billions failing multiple times. And now satellites are seeing launch after launch, not cheap rockets, not toy projects, but world-class technology. Satellites saw it, and America had to admit, wait, they ain't following us anymore. They're running their own race. And don't even get me started on defense. For decades, America thought of India as a buyer of weapons, just another customer. But those satellites looked down and saw something different: factories, labs, scientists, engineers building weapons that ain't bought from somebody else's shelf, but born right in Indian soil. Hypersonic missiles being tested, anti-satellite weapons knocking targets out of orbit, drones that rival anything in the Pentagon's inventory. That's what was captured from space. An India that don't need to ask permission anymore. But here's what shakes America to its core: it ain't just military. The terrifying secret satellites picked up was how India is building a future economy that runs on its own engine. See, the world got addicted to Chinese manufacturing. They thought China was the only option. but satellites scanning trade routes, scanning factories, scanning tech hubs. They see India rising as the alternative, the replacement, the one country that can't be ignored. Semiconductor plants popping up, green energy fields stretching across the land, highways and ports being built like veins in a new giant body. That's the terrifying secret. The body of a new superpower forming right before our eyes. And let me break this down to you in real talk. When you got over 1 billion people, most of them young, hungry, educated, speaking the language of technology, coding AI, robotics, you got something scarier than any missile. You got momentum. And momentum is the one thing you can't stop with sanctions. You can't stop with propaganda. You can't stop with pressure. Momentum belongs to those who've been underestimated the longest. So when those satellites captured India's advancements, America realized something. The balance of power ain't stable anymore. They realized India ain't no sidekick. India ain't some background player in global politics. India is writing its own script, directing its own movie, and let me tell you, this movie is about to break every box office record. Now, I know some folks out there are asking, why call it terrifying? Why not call it inspiring? Because to the people of India, it's inspiring. But to the people who built their empires on the idea that India would always be second place, always be a follower, always be a market instead of a maker, it is terrifying. Terrifying because they see their grip slipping. Terrifying because they see their dominance fading. Terrifying because for the first time, they realize they ain't the only ones at the top table. You know what the satellites really discovered? They discovered India's confidence. A nation that don't bow its head anymore. A nation that looks the world in the eye and says, we ain't waiting for you to give us a seat. We building our own table. That's terrifying because confidence backed with capability is unstoppable. Think about the last 100 years. Who called the shots? America, Europe, maybe a little Russia, maybe China recently. But India always sidelined. And now the satellites are broadcasting a different truth. The truth that India is the X factor, the wild card, the force no one accounted for but everyone will have to respect. It's like watching a boxer that everybody underestimated. Folks laughed when he walked into the ring. Too small, too slow, too weak. But then, round after round, he starts landing punches, dodging blows, smiling while his opponents get frustrated. By the time the crowd realizes this guy ain't just surviving, he's dominating, it's too late. That's India right now. America's satellites just caught the punches mid-swing. And let's not forget culture. Satellites can see physical things, buildings, rockets, fields. But what they can't fully measure is cultural gravity. And India's culture is spreading like wildfire. From movies to music, from philosophy to spirituality, from Ayurveda to yoga to technology startups, India is shaping the minds and souls of the next generation worldwide. That's the kind of influence that no army, no fleet, no sanction can stop. And let me tell you, for the powers that thought only they could shape global culture, that's terrifying. Now, let me paint this picture. Satellites looking down at India at night. The old image they had was villages, dim lights, scattered cities. But now the image glowing back is sprawling megacities, skyscrapers, industrial parks, digital hubs, and lights stretching from one horizon to another. 1 billion smartphones lighting up the night sky. AI-driven industries buzzing with energy. Electric vehicles running through streets. That's what America just saw, and it shocked them. Because when you see a nation of this size, this hunger, this energy, moving forward in unison, you realize you can't stop it. You can't ignore it. You either work with it or you get left behind. And that realization is terrifying for those who are used to running the world alone. Here's the truth. India's terrifying secret ain't hidden in bunkers. It ain't buried underground. It ain't locked behind steel doors. It's hiding in plain sight, in its people, in its vision, in its resilience. And sometimes it takes a satellite to zoom out far enough to see the whole picture. So America discovered something they didn't want to believe. That India ain't rising. It has already risen. They discovered that every investment in education, every startup, every innovation, every rocket launch was part of a master plan. They discovered that this so-called developing nation ain't developing anymore. It's developed in spirit, in ambition, in fire. And let me close this thought with something powerful. The terrifying secret the satellites found is not just India's. It's a message to every underdog, every underestimated person, every nation overlooked and laughed at. The secret is this: when you build in silence, when you focus on growth, when you don't waste energy proving yourself to doubters, the day will come when your success is so loud the whole world hears it, whether they want or not. And that's what America just saw. India's success so loud it echoes in space. India's confidence so bold it bends the narrative. India's rise so unstoppable it terrifies those who thought they owned the future. Because now the world knows the terrifying secret is simple: India is no longer waiting. India is leading. America finally understood that India's terrifying secret is this: the next global order will be written in Indian ink. And let me tell you something, that realization did not come easy. For decades, America believed it was the only pen in the room, the only writer of rules, the only voice that mattered when it came to deciding how the world should run. It saw itself as the editor, in chief of the planet, with every other nation just playing the role of readers or, at best, contributors. But when those satellites looked down at India, when the data came in, when the evidence was too big to ignore, America saw something it never imagined. It saw that the ink in India's hands was darker, bolder, and permanent enough to write the next chapter of history. See, the thing about ink is this: it symbolizes permanence. Pencils fade, chalk wipes away, and digital text can be deleted, but ink stays. When you write in ink, you're saying this ain't temporary, this is forever. And America realized that India's terrifying secret wasn't just about rockets, weapons, or economic growth. It was about permanence. India isn't a trend. India isn't a flash of success. India isn't a moment in time. India is a movement, a force that's here to stay, and it's carving its name across the world order with ink that can't be erased. Think about it. The world order has always been rewritten by those who had the power to stamp their values, their systems, and their vision onto others. Britain did it with colonization. America did it with capitalism and military dominance. Russia tried with ideology, China with manufacturing. But now, the satellites showed something shocking. India isn't just participating in the world order, India is shaping it. From space exploration to artificial intelligence, from green energy to cultural influence, from defense to diplomacy, India's fingerprints are showing up everywhere. And when fingerprints show up everywhere, it means you can't hide who the real author is anymore. What makes it terrifying is that India didn't use the same playbook as the West. America thought power came from money and military. India proved power comes from resilience and relationships. America thought dominance meant controlling others. India showed dominance means standing tall without being controlled. That's why when the satellites captured India's rise, it wasn't just about machines and technology. It was about a philosophy that says, we don't need to copy you. We don't need to obey you. We'll build our own model and the world will follow it. And here's the part that America can't digest: India is young. Over half the population under 30. Do you understand what that means? While America and Europe are aging, struggling to keep their workforces alive, India is filled with the fire of youth. The ambition of dreamers, the coding brains, the entrepreneurial hustlers, the inventors, the problem solvers. The satellites didn't just see factories and labs. They saw universities buzzing at midnight, startups rising in garages, young leaders rewriting industries. They saw a nation not waiting for the future, but creating it. And once you see that kind of energy, you know that ink isn't running out anytime soon. It's a fresh pen with 1 billion cartridges backing it up. Let's talk about alliances. For decades, America believed alliances were its monopoly. NATO here, UN influence there, trade agreements written in its favor. But satellites caught something else. India is building quiet, unshakable alliances not based on fear, but respect. Countries in Asia, Africa, even Europe are turning to India as a partner. Not as a servant, not as a buyer, but as an equal. That's terrifying because America built its power on dependence. Other nations depending on its aid, its weapons, its technology. But what happens when those nations start depending on India instead? What happens when contracts, trade deals, and defense partnerships start flowing east instead of west? You know what happens. The ink shifts. The signature on the bottom of history's next page starts to say, India. The satellites also revealed something America cannot unsee. India's ability to combine ancient wisdom with modern science. This is what makes the ink so permanent. Because while other nations chase temporary highs, today's technology, tomorrow's economy, India grounds itself in roots thousands of years deep. You can't shake that. You can't erase that. Yoga, Ayurveda, meditation, spirituality, these aren't just cultural exports. They're soft power tools that shape how the world thinks and lives. And when you combine that with rockets, AI, quantum computing, and defense, you don't just have a superpower. You have a super civilization. That's the kind of ink that doesn't dry out. And America knows this. That's why the word terrifying comes in. Because America ain't scared of India failing. America's scared of India succeeding. Because if India succeeds, the rules change. Think about trade. For decades, America controlled global commerce. The dollar was king. But now satellites show India pushing its currency into global markets, signing deals outside the dollar system, trading oil with its own terms. That shakes the foundation of financial dominance. That means the ink of economic power is shifting pens. Defense is another chapter. America's satellites picked up missile silos, warships, submarines, airfields, but more importantly, they picked up autonomy. India isn't just buying anymore, it's building. And the terrifying part is not just that it's building for itself, it's that it's building to sell, to export, to arm others. BrahMos missiles, Tejas fighter jets, Akash air defense systems, these aren't just tools of security, they're stamps of power. When another nation buys Indian weapons, they're signing with Indian ink. That's rewriting the defense chapter of the global order. And then there's space. Oh, you better believe those satellites had to pause when they saw what India was doing in space. Moon landings on the South Pole. Mars missions on the first attempt. A space station plan in the works. Cheap, efficient rockets that undercut America and Europe by billions. That's terrifying not because it's competition. It's terrifying because it's sustainable. India ain't burning money for prestige. India is investing smart. That means every launch is a new paragraph written in the story of space dominance. And when the ink in orbit starts spelling India, the whole book changes. Culture too. Satellites can't capture it, but America feels it. Bollywood beating Hollywood in numbers. Indian music trending globally. Indian festivals celebrated worldwide. Indian CEOs running the biggest tech companies in America itself. That's not coincidence, that's ink spreading across borders. And the more it spreads, the more the narrative shifts from made in America to led by India. But here